they're going to be kind of the surprise Cinderella team.
Just defensively, just get incrementally better.
Everybody has lived up and failed expectations.
That's it. The box score is what the box score is. It sucks for them. That's what's going on with the San Antonio Spurs.
That's what's brewing.
Welcome to episode 20 of What's Brewing Sports. Episode 20, which, you know what, every week I look up a number Andrew brought that would be the representative of our whatever episode it is.
Right.
Last week was 19, Johnny Unitas, Tony Gwynn.
Sure.
You know, the week before was 18, was Omaha, Peyton Manning. Right. Episode 20, there's just I didn't even look up anything.
Sure.
Because it's the Manu Ginobili episode.
Yeah.
There's no other 20 to consider here.
Unless maybe you live in Detroit. They may have something to say about that.
I don't know.
But we don't live in Detroit.
We don't live in Detroit.
So
Thank
we can throw
God.
that out the window.
Thank God we don't live in Detroit. So welcome to What's Brewing Sports for this week. I'm Richard Oliver along with Andrew T. Brought. And we have a lot to talk about. And one of the things, of course, is we were going to, as we sit here on a Monday, we were going to go get Gary DeLon.
That's right.
The legendary Texas Sports Hall of Famer, Texas Radio Hall of Famer, San Antonio Sports Hall of Famer, the man, the myth, the legend who will be doing his 60th year of high school football on radio this fall.
Wow.
60 years. We were going to go get him, and then a hurricane hit.
Almost literally.
I mean, trash cans blowing down the street, swirling rain, stuff just knocking off the trees.
Right.
You know, it was enough that you brought out the gimbal.
I did.
And the iPhone and went outside and started filming as lightning was cracking around you.
No kidding.
Blasting thing. I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened nearby, but we got
something blew up.
Something blew up as we that was a summer thunderstorm that kind of came out of nowhere.
No kidding.
And so there was flooding around town. Luckily, we have power. We're good to go.
That's right.
We could talk
That's right.
sports, but there's no Gary DeLon.
There's no Gary DeLon.
We did not go get Gary DeLon because it was storming like crazy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, you know.
It happens.
It happens.
And but we do have things to talk about. So we will have Gary on next week because actually he's a wonderful guy to talk about patriotic things. I mean, this is a guy who's invested a lot of his life in this country and some different kind of things, served in the military as well. And so we'll talk July 4th with him as well as some of the things that he's thankful for. But we really want to talk a little high school football with him and just some of his memories, leading into it. But some of the topics today, Andrew, Cowboys have a decision to make with Dak Prescott. You and I both have opinions about this, so we'll talk a little bit about that. The Spurs just held on to their draft picks. All the rumors, all the different things swirling around about the Spurs maybe making a move. I think there might have been some interest in them making a move to move up. But they got a couple of youngsters that they feel pretty good about.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that as well. And also, because this is What's Brewing Sports, we're going to combine the What's Brewing part of things because you love craft beer. You talk a lot about craft beer. I weigh in when I can. I love coffee, so we talk a lot about coffee.
Right.
You have been a barista, so you're an expert on this kind of stuff as well. But we're going to talk about our favorite coffee beers.
That's right.
So we're just kind of mixing it up a little bit today. So we could kind of go into that.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know that I would call myself an expert per se.
More of an expert than yeah.
I mean, I've ground a bean or two. Mm-hmm. I've ground a bean or two.
My friend, you've traveled around the world. You've had coffee in Guatemala and Canada.
I have,
Then I've had some in England and Germany and India. So we know we've had coffee.
We had coffee.
We have had some coffee in our day.
Not as much together.
No,
we have to change that. We have to start taking these world trips together.
Now, because we have because our family has been very fortunate, all of us, to have traveled quite a bit.
Right.
So we're gonna rebirth this at some point. But we used to have maps on the wall,
Right.
or we'd put pins in.
That's right.
Okay, yellow is where dad's gone, and pink is where mom's gone, and then you
Right.
guys are somewhere. We had rules. You had to have spent the night there.
Yeah,
you
right.
couldn't just drive.
Flown through the airport.
Yeah, you can't just be at 7-Eleven in Albuquerque and say that's it. Yeah, we were there. But we're going to do that. We should have it. Where have we had coffee?
That's right.
Like a brown.
Oh, that's
brown
a great
pins.
idea. That's a great idea.
Where have we had coffee? Brown pins.
Yeah.
Yes, I had coffee in Durango, Colorado.
That's
there
right.
you go.
That's
We're going to put
right.
it there. That kind of
That's
thing.
right.
But and I would guess because we have traveled so much, so the pins were everywhere. I mean, we've all been exotic, weird places. So we had a wonderful map that it really, I don't know what happened to it. It fell down and pins went everywhere. So we kind of threw it out, and we need to redo it.
Right.
But I think that it'd be interesting if we did it from the coffee perspective.
That would be.
Where have I had a cup of coffee?
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to. We're gonna try to do that.
I think we should also set up some kind of like a tour, like everybody talks about breweries, but we should set up like a brewery / coffee shop, coffee location tour for this show, and we should see where this show could take us, and book a tour, a recording tour, and record this show from different breweries / coffee shops.
It's a great idea
for whatever.
Yeah, we just zone in, and as you've pointed out, there is a What's Brewing.
There is a What's Brewing coffee here in
place
town.
here
That's
in town.
right.
So
that we will make that happen very soon.
He said, calling out the What's Brewing coffee folks.
That's right.
Hey, we got things to talk about with that as well. So
yeah,
where would you like to begin? Because we had a near death experience with the storm today, so I'm feeling energized. I'm on vacation.
We did. We almost got hit by lightning.
Yeah, so we're alive. we still talk about sports.
We are alive.
We will live to see. And another thing, and we not only Cowboys, Spurs, little coffee, but I want to talk just a little bit, and we can do it whenever you want to, about this kid that plays for the Astros named Yordan Alvarez.
Right.
Who's just this phenom who tore it up in the minor leagues. I didn't even know who he was last year.
Right.
He's a Cuban kid, and he's young. They've brought him up, and now that the Astros haven't been playing very well, they're kind of stinking it up. But not this guy. This guy has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
7 home runs in 12 games, 16 RBIs. He's got like I don't even know what these acronyms are, OPS and all this kind of different stuff.
Right.
But his OPS is like big, 1.3 something. So, you look at that thing and you think, well, this is a guy who's achieved a lot quickly. Now, he can't possibly keep hitting at this pace.
Right.
But anyway, that's another topic that's
well,
pretty interesting.
I mean, we're already into it. Let's keep going. I mean,
I did kind of just lead into that.
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah, you
actually
took
on
one for
purpose.
the
Kind of.
I saw
on
that.
purpose there.
I saw
yeah.
what you did. I saw what you did.
It was trying to be.
I don't know that it was very subtle.
I was trying to be sneaky about it, but
does it count if you just lay out to get hit by the ball?
Yeah, no, it doesn't count at all. Doesn't count at all. A little softball, take a swing at this. No, but
right.
You and I were talking before we came on the air. Is that how you say that? Came on the air before we started taping.
That's right.
This Alvarez kid, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, is hitting like 340 in his first 12 games.
Right.
That's the hottest start of any player in Major League history as far as the home runs and RBIs.
Really?
Never happened before in 12 games. So he's coming out of the gate pretty strong. But, of course, for everybody's thinking, hey, he's coming out of the gate pretty strong. This is great. But what's great about it is the Astros aren't at full strength yet.
Yeah.
So now you kind of think about, of course, in the American League, you can hit this guy at DH because he's not really well versed fielding wise. He's not a great outfielder, and they don't even want to try him at first base. But you have him out there in left field on occasion, but you have him at DH. Carlos Correa is going to be back in July sometime after his massage incident where he broke a rib, which I still am calling BS on this whole thing.
If it's true, that's just embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. It's just awful. Come up with a story of something. Something fell off a horse or something. But so Correa will be back, but Springer's back this week. So George Springer's back. Altuve's back and is actually pasting the ball, hitting the ball really well. Very encouraging. So if you look at that Astros lineup, which just stunk to high heaven against the Yankees, I say that they actually scored a few runs. They had hits. They did, they did what they needed to do on one end, but then they just stunk it up on the other end. If they couldn't hit, they would pitch, but they couldn't hit. So they lost 4-1, or they would hit and lose 7-5 or 10-7 or whatever it was. So it's kind of interesting. But you know what? They go home and they've got Yuli Gurriel back at first. Altuve's playing second. Correa eventually plays at shortstop. There's this guy, Alex Bregman, playing third base. Chirinos has been great at catcher this year. A revelation how good he is. Springer's back at center field. Josh Reddick at right field. And then whoever you want to put, Michael Brantley, who's been outstanding, free agent addition. That's a lineup.
Right.
And, oh, yeah, here's this kid, Yordan Alvarez, who gets a home run every 4 at-bats. Put him at DH.
Right.
You got yourself a team.
Yeah.
You got yourself a pretty good team there.
Yeah.
Offensively, anyway.
Right. Well, I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
You have to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
This was a rough week for them. This was not their week.
1-7 road trip.
This is,
or 1-6.
I read the last time that they went that bad was 2015. It's been 4 years since
they made the playoffs there.
Played that bad.
Yeah. Now, they did lose a series. I mean, there's been a lot of, 2 years ago, the last time they lost 3 games to the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, they won the World Series. So, there's
is that what we're throwing out?
Well, you know what? It's June. It's June. They lose 7 straight games, and now the Rangers gained 3 games on them. So the Rangers are 6.5 back, I guess, going into this homestand, depending on what the Rangers do tonight as we sit here.
Right.
So it's June. We're not even we're in the 3rd week of June. So no, I'm not going to DEFCON 2 yet. I'm going to stick with the Astros on this thing, but I will take out the positives of that. Justin Verlander in a game the Astros really needed to win, the 4th game, the Sunday game at Yankee Stadium, comes out and pitches a great game. Really does a great job. And then, Alvarez hits another home run. Tyler White, who has really been a thorn for the Astros this year, hits a grand slam in that game. So, which I thought also to talk about Alvarez and how ahead he is. Tyler White, who's been the DH or first baseman for the Astros for a majority of the season. Tyler White hits a grand slam, and Alvarez hits a 2 or 3 run homer in that game, 2-run homer, I think. Has more RBIs in 12 games than White has had all year. And White in a power position, the DH position or the first base position. Those guys are supposed to be run producers for you. I've been really disappointed. Everybody's been disappointed with this guy. He had a great second half last year, stunk it up in the playoffs, has really just been kind of so-so in the first half this year. But anyway, Alvarez has already compiled more RBIs than Tyler White has. So which, again, tells you once they get healthy, this guy's your DH instead of Tyler White, obviously.
Sure.
It could be some damage there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no doubt that they have a lot of talent on this team. I don't know. You look at the ESPN polls today, the Dodgers are up above everybody, like 5 games.
Playing
right?
great.
They're, 54 games right now?
Yeah.
Who was second? The Yankees climbing to second? But they're sitting around the same average as
Yankees, Twins, Astros are all about
the same average, right? 49 games,
and
49
wins. Keep it for the season. The Astros have won 5 of 9 games against the Yankees,
right?
Even with losing 3 at Yankee Stadium. So this isn't October. This is going to be really interesting. That however it gets into the fall, it's going to be a dogfight.
Sure. Yeah, and again, to your point, we're not at the halfway mark yet. We haven't hit. All-Star week or any of that. So, I don't know. You know what? You might look at this. We might look back at this and think this was the best time to go through the slump that they went through.
Right.
Get healthy.
Or be injured. Yeah.
Right. Get healthy and then be ready to go for the second half of the season heading into the playoffs. The Yankees are a big surprise with how they came on because early on in the season, it kind of looked like their season was over, just with injuries, and it just seemed like anybody that could do anything was gonna get injured.
Right.
Just one person after another was insane, and they've just come on like crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of the Yankees. I haven't seen enough of the Dodgers.
Yankees can hit. Boy, they can hit. That team, to your point, like the Astros, they're getting healthy. Aaron Judge is back. They've got guys coming in. They traded for Edwin Encarnacion, another power hitter. Like they needed another one. They went out and got that guy. They've got a good farm system. They can still make some moves. Everybody's looking for starting pitching now. So Yankees are going to be tough.
Right.
Going to be tough. And so it's going to be – and the shame of it is I've got Yankees fans at my office. That's the real crime of this whole thing.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Javier Thomas.
Yeah, they're like cockroaches.
I'm on vacation,
man.
I'm on vacation. I'm not communicating with people. And Thomas is sending me text messages yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Saying, I don't hear anything from you.
Right.
And I said, who are you? I've lost my phone. I have no idea who you are. That's the kind of stuff. But that's okay. Hey, listen, you're right. We're 3 games away from the midpoint of the season. The Astros are at 79 games.
Right.
So I guess we're 2 games away from, since it's 162 divided by 2 is 81. Yeah, so we're right there. So the Astros play the Pirates this week. Theoretically, Pirates kind of a so-so team.
Yeah.
And it'll be Garrett Cole on Tuesday night against his old team, the Pirates. So
sure.
Fun times.
Well, to your point, though, baseball is a game of streaks, and we know that. And so really it's just a matter of when you're going to catch, that wave of good luck.
Right.
That wave of where the ball just lands right where you want it to hit it, and where the pitches, they go over the plate when you want them to go over the plate. And so we'll see. Like I said, I think it's a good sign that some of these teams are taking their lumps early,
right.
And hopefully that's it. To your point about the rookie, you look at the Dodgers, what they're doing right now. They're leaning on their rookies. Their rookies are what are winning them games.
Right.
So that's pretty impressive. It's interesting to see these young players, and we're going to talk about some more young players on the NBA side of things here shortly.
Right.
But yeah, you look at these are kids that are just showing up and playing the heck out of some ball.
Right.
I mean, it's really.
It's going to be fun.
Impressive. It's impressive to think about how young these guys are and how athletic they really are.
It's depressing, really, when you think
it's
about it.
It's a little depressing.
They're all because now you're actually getting to be.
Makes you want to drink.
You're not a veteran yet. You're not an old man, but you're not 19 anymore.
I am not as young as I used to be. That's
and
for sure.
It's weird when you're young, when the players coming up and competing at that level in baseball or the NBA, like we'll talk about here in just a few moments. And now my son is older than that. My
right.
youngest,
right.
my baby, is is so much older than these guys. But and we'll get off the Astros topic because obviously a lot of season left, and the Astros right now have 7 players in line to play in the All-Star game.
Wow,
7. So they're a pretty good team. But we will be heading to Houston. We just give you a heads up. Now,
That's right.
Earlier this year, we had Reed Ryan on with us, and at the time we talked about what's brewing and the
That's
fact
right.
that they've got a great craft beer universe happening at Minute Maid Park.
That's right.
We're going to go experience that. We'll do our podcast early before a ball game sometime, and looking out over the field, we'll do something, and we'll appreciate what Minute Maid offers, and then we'll go watch the baseball and talk
Absolutely.
about it. So that'll be fun, and we will work on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sooner than later.
Well, we're going to have to squeeze it in pretty soon.
Yeah, you've got things happening.
I've got things brewing.
You got things brewing. What's brewing? Your wife is brewing.
That's right.
That's right. Baby James, sweet baby James on the horizon. We're looking forward to that.
That's right.
That kid is going to come out, and I am throwing an Astros jersey on him right away. I mean, right away.
We'll see who can get there first.
Yeah.
He might have an A&M 12th man jersey on him.
That's true.
Before.
Well, I'll accept that as well. Anyway, Astros play the Pirates this week. They play the Pirates are 4 games under 500.
Right.
A team the Astros should be able to handle theoretically. And then they play the Mariners, a team that is really sucking it up, started the season so great.
Yeah.
But now they're 35-47 heading into this week's play. So,
hey, before we put a pin on this topic, because I want to move on, but did you see something about Tampa Bay trying to split time between being in Tampa Bay and Montreal?
Yes.
And then the owner has the gall to come out and say, "But I want to always keep baseball in Tampa Bay. Don't you worry."
Yeah, and they're a good team.
They're a great team.
Yeah.
They're like a top 5 team.
Yeah,
we know that nobody's showing up to these games flat out. So if you're going to be spending half, and that's what he's saying, you're going to split half the time, and they don't know when this is going to take place yet.
Right.
But the fact that they're talking about it speaks to the idea that they're
but
probably
the
talking about sooner than later.
Not happening. The mayor's already said they're not giving permission for this.
Oh, really?
To get out of the lease of the ballpark and all that kind of
right,
stuff. So,
right.
We'll
It'd be interesting because the league okayed
This could be legal. This could be legal. I know.
The league okayed it.
And the idea, the insulting part of it was that the second half of the season would be in Montreal.
Yes.
The important part of the season. It's going to be in Montreal. Now, I miss the Expos. I mean, I used to love that team.
Right,
They come through that, they were just, they were interesting team,
Right.
But God darn, that's just.
And then they went to Washington, right?
Yeah, I think the Expos went to, they could be the Nationals, the Nationals are now.
I think that's what happened.
When I was a kid, the Expos were a lot of fun.
But, I mean, can we just go on record as saying, first of all, this is a terrible idea.
Yes.
Right.
Let's go on record to say, first off, this idea sucks.
It's a bad idea.
This is bad idea.
It's not a long-term idea. So it's a way of trying to do let's call it a half-assed Irish goodbye, right? the half-assed version of just kind of slipping out the door, while everybody's kind of distracted while somebody's doing a keg stand in the corner. That's basically what we're seeing here. And they're trying to pass this off as, we just want to spread baseball around and we want to, give some baseball back to our Canadian friends and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is they're mad. They're not making numbers that they want to make because people aren't showing up to the park. Now, what I will say is Tampa Bay, if you want to keep your team, show up to some games.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And what's funny is that how many times on this podcast do we talk about what it would be like here, an experience here, and getting a major league team here and getting people to show up. And then you see what happened with the AAF and how many people showed up for something they had no idea what the product was even about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just weird to look at these teams, a city like Tampa Bay that has a top 10 baseball team and nobody can show up for it.
Yeah, and they never have. Yeah, it's been an awful situation for them.
Yeah, they had one of the lowest attendance records last year. I think something at an average of like 14,000.
Right.
And to give you an idea, on Saturday, I think at Yankee Stadium they had upwards of 40,000 at that game for the Astros. And then, they're definitely on pace this year. I mean, they showed that one game. There's the infamous game that will be shown, I'm sure, at some point later to date in the year as a highlight reel of nobody being in the stand, like 5 people in the stands or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably amounted to 1,000 or something. But, I mean, it looked like nobody was at the game.
And their biggest fan, of course, is Dick Vitale.
Right.
Loves the Rays. You can always hear it. Oh, baby! Throw it in there, baby! Come on! So he's always behind third base, and chirping about that. But then he's always so positive too. So he can't even taunt anybody well. That was a great strikeout. You look good. You're a diaper daddy.
Oh my God.
So, but yeah, Tampa Bay 4.5 games behind the Yankees in the American League East as we sit here.
Right.
And they're you know what they've got a great pitching staff.
Yeah.
And they've got, of course, Blake Snell, although the Yankees kind of ripped him apart the other night. But anyway, it's a great point. Tampa Bay to Montreal.
Right.
Plus, Montreal's it's a National League team. That's a National League city. The Expos are nationally, kind of like the Astros, of course. But I digress. Of course, the biggest story, but before we get out of this, you talk about Tampa Bay 4.5 back. The Boston Red Sox are now 8 games out.
Right.
8 games out. They won the World Series last year, and they are, now they're only a game out of the wild card, so they're not, they're still playoff caliber, and then they're going to be, they're 5 games over 500. But I keep waiting for them to pull themselves out of this thing, and it hasn't been all that pretty. They won 7 of their last 10, but they're not going to catch the Yankees at this point.
Right.
The Yankees are just that much better than they are.
Well, I mean,
anyway.
At this point, as we know, especially being a basketball city, it's just about getting in and then it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right.
you're playing 160 plus games, but really, the only games that matter are after those 160.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to get post 160 games. You're
Right.
just surviving 160. So if they can survive and find their way in, maybe they tap back into that magic that they found last year.
Right.
I mean,
right. And it is how you finish.
And then that's kind of the, again, going back to how we're talking about the Astros. Yeah, they had a bad week, but one bad week out of how many,
Right.
not
That's how they've kept it together.
the end of the world.
No, and they got. Well, let's get healthy. Everybody get healthy. And
Right.
Then let's play some baseball.
Sure.
Find out. And no excuses. The Yankees were great. Hurt. They played
Right.
great baseball. Hurt. The Astros played pretty good baseball. Hurt. They were 20 games over 500 without Altuve at one stretch. That's
Until
pretty good.
until this last bad week, they were really impressive.
Until they just something just kind of, and a lot of it's been pitching. Just the problem, pitching is just
Right.
has not been good. But ebb and flow of a season. That's the way kind of things happen. So, speaking of ebb and flow, transitioning a little bit to the NBA, we had a big week as Spurs fans last week.
That's right.
And I thought it was a very interesting week. Now, things have happened with the Spurs. One, DeMar DeRozan's still with the team.
Right.
LaMarcus Aldridge still with the team. Rudy Gay apparently still going to be with the team.
Yeah.
So the Astros have come, and DeJounte Murray is saying he feels great.
Yeah, he's
been,
salivating to get back on the court.
He's been working out even when he didn't need to be there. He's been over there working out, working on his shot like crazy.
He was in the film room with the team the entire time he was injured, apparently.
And so he's been a part of it, and he's going to be. People forget a couple of years ago this guy was second team All NBA defense,
Right.
All defensive team. Now this is a fine player that the Spurs have coming back next year, but this was a big week for the Spurs last week. The
absolutely.
draft happened, and the Spurs actually drafted a couple of guys.
Well, but it was very much Spurs fashion, right? I mean, they went out and they got one guy that they knew about him. He's definitely on some people's radar. In fact, they thought maybe the Pacers were going to go after him first, and they ended up going after, I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's name. I'm not going to try.
Luka Samanic.
No, that's the guy that we got. But they went after
the other guy. Yeah,
this other guy.
The other guy.
The other guy. We'll just call him the other guy. We'll move on.
Yeah, we'll move on.
But I think they had the pick before the Spurs, didn't they? I think they were right at. I think Spurs had him at 19, so maybe they were at 18.
Yeah.
And so a lot of
The
people.
Spurs were trying to move up to get this guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But really, what strikes you about these guys? So first of all, everybody that they got was really young. The oldest was the kid they got from Mississippi State, I believe.
Quinnery.
That's right.
Yeah, they had to go draft guys that we couldn't pronounce.
That's right. Quindary Weatherspoon.
Quindary Weatherspoon.
Probably Quindary. You're probably right with Quindary.
I like Quindary though.
I like Quindary as well.
Quindary, yeah, but
it might be Quindary on this show.
He's Quindary till we're told other's.
That's right.
Let's get our friend Jeff Garcia on the phone. Tell us if that's the case.
He's Quindary until he's MVP of the finals.
We hope he plays in Quindarian fashion. Quindarian sounds like something from the
Quindary.
Nebula,
that's right.
from the Nebula galaxy. He's a Quindarian. Quindary Weatherspoon.
That's right. Do you speak Quindarian?
But to your point, we talked about young players earlier. We talked about Yordan Alvarez of the Astros, who's early 20s, and then here comes Luka Samanic,
right?
The guy they brought in, 19 years old, and then Keldon Johnson, one of the Kentucky factory guys, comes out. Virginia kid comes in at age 19 as well.
Yeah.
So the Spurs go young, and they go young early, and I'm asking you because it doesn't confuse me so much, but. You know that Luka Samanic is going to be he'll be a player eventually. They say they're not going to tuck him away in Europe like they do a lot of these guys. He's from Croatia and he could play over there. He's been playing there for a while.
Yeah.
But they're going to play him quickly. I mean, he'll play G League, I guess. They'll give him the Lonnie Walker treatment and the DeJounte Murray treatment and all that. But between he and Keldon Johnson, those are projects.
Yeah.
Those are young guys who maybe it's season 2-3 years away.
Right.
So what does that say about how the Spurs feel about their season?
Right.
About next year?
Exactly.
I find that really interesting. They're not now. They still might make a deal. They might. I mean, DeMar DeRozan may be dangled out there. They may have LaMarcus Aldridge dangled. Anybody could be out there for the Spurs to look at. Free agents, perhaps. I don't know how they would work it, but I wonder about that.
Yeah.
What does that say when they draft two talented 19-year-olds who have futures? But we're talking the future part of it is the real key there.
Right. Well, I mean, the Spurs are still they're just we always talk about how boring the Spurs are, and I think they're not the Lakers in that you're gonna just have just chaos. Right. In the Spurs organization, you're not going to have chaos in terms of people losing track of cap.
Yeah. Like the Lakers. What a.
What you're going to get with the Spurs is these intriguing choices that they make and how they develop these players and how they turn somebody that was like little known that nobody really knew of besides, their inner circle and turn them into superstars.
Right.
I mean, the Spurs. What did I read the other day? The Spurs, every team since 2007 has had a lottery pick, except for the Spurs, who have not had a lottery pick since 1997.
Yeah.
And that lottery pick, by the way, proved to be pretty good.
Yeah.
He's
a tall guy. Yeah. David Robinson, I think. The Admiral. I think of the Spurs and just I know they've shown a lot of wisdom. Now they've had some busts among their draft. I mean, there are guys who just have never panned out, or you just never hear from, or
nothing is 100% sure guarantee. But when you look at their win rate, their percentage of what they do with guys versus the guys that don't transpire.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a really good job vetting these kids. I mean, more
Tony
often
Parker,
than not.
Manu Ginobili. This Kawhi Leonard guy turned out okay.
Till later,
but he's still pretty good player. Kawhi Leonard, DeJounte Murray.
Right.
Derek White, Lonnie Walker. Jury's still out on these guys, but by all accounts,
right,
they're okay players. All of those guys were either great to pretty darn good.
Right.
So I think that's going to be one of those things this next year. And again, I go back to, I love Luka Samanic. I love the way his attitude. I love listening to him. I thought his interview was great. Said all the right things. Just has a great, loves Mexican food. Had to throw it. He'd done his homework. The first team that worked him out when they flew him over was the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs have had him on their radar since he was 16 years old.
For a while.
This guy's, so I like this. This Keldon Johnson looks like a steal. Maybe the steal of the first round.
I think he's the steal of the draft.
So he's a guy that the Spurs could develop into something special. He's a swing man. They need a swing man. He might get, right off the bat. I mean, obviously, Luka Samanic is a guy that has he kind of fits that mold. He's 6'11", but he has guard capabilities.
Right.
Is the big man who can handle the ball and shoot from outside.
Potentially handle the ball and shoot from outside.
And that's what you got to have in the NBA these days. Everybody knows that. So Keldon Johnson, though, is a swingman, very athletic, and looks like he wants to get his nose into the defense. Mm-hmm. He wants to play. And you actually have watched some tape on this guy. I haven't seen much on him, but
no, he's aggressive.
He bows up on people.
He's aggressive, exactly. Yeah, he's got such a strong chest that he doesn't back down easily against even seemingly bigger players. And apparently he looks to come off of screens really quickly too. He's really agile, but he's strong. He can come around a screen pretty healthily,
right,
and still disrupt the play.
Right.
And I mean, the thing that I notice about all three of these guys, we're not talking about Quindary as much. I'm not really sure about him because he's 22. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know why I think that.
Right.
I guess just because he's older. He's a really impressive looking guard. And I think, again, in this system, we've seen them turn. How many, I was thinking about this, not to completely diverge. These guys are all young and they all look great. But this has been going on for the last 20 some odd years. The only difference is that we had a strong foundation in the big three. So all we're seeing now is we don't know who our big three are, And so we're just hearing more about these names, but I don't think what we're seeing is anything new. I don't think that what we're seeing is anything shocking. Them going after these players, I don't think is anything outside of their pedigree in terms of how they shop for players and what their plan is. I don't think that this is any strange year of drafting as opposed to any other year of drafting that they've done. I think that they've just done their homework and paid extra attention to what they need and what they see will be key in the future.
Right.
And I know, we talk about this and we don't like the way the game has changed, but it has changed nonetheless. And surely, if anybody's going to notice that, it's going to be Popovich.
Right.
And he's going to plan accordingly.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you can call Popovich older. You can call him, militant and kind of stuck in his ways, sort of. But, the one thing you can't call Popovich is a loser. That is not a guy who likes to lose.
No.
So if the game changes, you better believe he's going to find a way to evolve and stay ahead of the curve with the game.
But that's my point about this thing too. Is that now obviously I guess he signed a 3-year contract, so maybe he is he's in project mode maybe for some of these guys and everything. But I just wonder what it says about the Spurs that they drafted these two talented 19-year-olds who are not going to be impact players this year.
No,
they're not. They're just not. And the Spurs must feel like they've got something with DeJounte Murray coming back and Derek White playing the 2 guard, which he's more comfortable at, and then they've got DeMar DeRozan and they've got LaMarcus Aldridge and they've got Rudy Gay, and,
Brent Forbes.
So they feel like they've got a team.
Bertans.
But are they? But do they have a championship team? Do they have a team that they feel like, hey, this is a team that can compete for a championship? I just feel like the Spurs have something else brewing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it would be.
Well, I don't think so.
They're not going to win a championship with the players they've got.
They might believe they can.
Well, I don't believe it. I don't know.
I would say, I don't know, because...
No, maybe the Western Conference changed so much.
Sure. But I would say there were definitely flashes. And I think, to be phenomenal, right? To be extraordinary, you have to be beyond the ordinary. And the Spurs have always excelled at being extra than the ordinary.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, they've always seemed like they're 3 to 5 steps ahead of everybody else. And when they put this team together, once again, it was, I don't know who this is, who is that, whatever. But there were flashes with each one of the people that were on the starting roster. There were flashes where you could see some brilliance for those players. Now it's just a matter of finding the chemistry. I think they knew this year was going to be a bust, but I don't think that they were counting on this year. This was definitely the epitome of a transition year, the likes we've never seen before, because in the last 20 years, we've always had exceptional foundation of players. So we rebuilt, and we were supposed to have that foundation of players, and we got screwed over on that, the investments that we made. Fine.
Right.
But they moved on, and they moved on to the tune of winning 47 games in a season nonetheless, which was phenomenal.
It was phenomenal.
I think. I don't know. I mean,
I just think they should be thinking championships.
But they might be. I don't know. There's a lot of madness in the method, and I think the method is proven. So I'm kind of excited to see what I'm excited to go along for the ride with this thing and see what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll be talking in December.
We'll definitely be talking in December.
See what you think then.
That's right.
LaMarcus Aldridge is not any younger, and he's not changing his game. He's still going to have a little mid-range game, and DeMar DeRozan, mid-range game. They're just dinosaurs in the NBA right now. Which again, when it works, it works. But DeMar DeRozan is still. Do we still gamble on him being a playoff performer? I don't know. I go down the list in my mind of thinking that the Spurs, they could be competitive. And again, you and I have talked about this. I think they probably could have beaten Denver.
Yeah.
And had they beaten Denver, I think they would have gone on to I know they could have beaten Portland.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they would have been in the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors.
In a transition year.
Yeah, and then that would have been remarkable.
Yeah.
Now the Warriors are without Kevin Durant, even though it looks like he's going to re-sign with the Warriors, but it doesn't matter next year
because he's out.
Klay Thompson's out for half the year because of his injury. And so, the Warriors, and they were already so shallow, as we saw in the NBA Finals. They don't have a bench at all. So I think the Western Conference landscape is shifting, especially if Kawhi stays in Toronto. I think if Brooklyn does get a lot of these players that they feel like, the Eastern Conference is getting stronger. Obviously, the balance has shifted a little bit. But so the Spurs maybe feel like on the landscape of the Western Conference that they have a better shot next year than they did this year or the year before. But I don't know. But that's what, and again, I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right.
Yeah,
they're smarter than you and I are. Obviously, they know what they know what their system is. They know what they're going to be doing. But are they? Is it something that the Spurs feel pretty confident they've got a team in place that's going to compete at that level? That's a great mystery.
Yeah. I don't know, because we didn't, there were a lot of things this year that we didn't see come to fruition until late, right? Like Derek White. We didn't know Derek White was going to become Derek White until end of the season, into the playoffs.
Right.
And then he exploded, and he had, 2 really strong games in the playoffs where we thought, okay, he's arrived. Right. And it turned out he hadn't yet, but he's still a young guy, and he was never expected to show up the way that he even did for those 2 games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you didn't have a DeJounte Murray. Can you imagine when you do have a DeJounte Murray and a Derek White? And then there were flashes with Bryn Forbes, and, until the playoffs, for some reason, I have no idea why that happened, but, Bertans was really impressive throughout the season. In fact, in the you and I went to an early, maybe it was a preseason game, I don't even remember anymore, and he was one of the players that stuck out to us the most. Right,
but then he lost minutes at the end.
Right, then he lost minutes at the end. But again, it's all about this being a new collection of players, new system. I mean, everything about last year was a transition year, and yet they still achieved so much. And so, I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is I'm just excited to be surprised, because the one thing that's consistent with the Spurs is that if you are a Spurs fan, they will surprise you in a positive way. And if you're not, they will surprise you in a pretty negative way. You're always, the haters can hate, but they consistently hate because they keep showing up somehow. Right. They're just that foe that just never goes away. It's like Bugs Bunny. You just never quite get them.
And you know what? And they're set up to make the playoffs again. Yeah. Again.
Exactly.
And it's interesting. A report coming out that the Spurs are eyeing Real Madrid's Pablo Lasso for their vacant assistant spot, as Ettore Messina has gone over to Spain and will be coaching over there. So that's an interesting pickup. The Spurs not afraid to go out to find a foreign coach again, which would be joining they need a assistant coach, obviously. This guy's won a couple of EuroLeague championships. He's got pedigree. Right. So I don't know what that means for Becky Hammon or Will Hardy or any of those guys that are kind of lined up behind Pop. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Spurs are going to be a lot different this year coming up.
Yeah, they will.
And before we move off that topic, because we have some other stuff we're going to talk about, this Lucas Samanic is good. They're really happy about this kid.
He's good.
And this Keldon Johnson is the one, though, to me. That's the one that I think everybody's keeping an eye on.
He's future star potential for sure. The thing about Luka is that, you watch him and he's every bit of 19 years old. He's lanky. Mm-hmm. He's 6'11". So, he's got to fill out. But he's got, he does move for being a, 6'11" guy. He moves pretty well. Right. He's got to put on some weight, so I don't know if he'll always be able to move that fast. I don't know. I don't know what to think about him yet, because the film he's 19. It's just I don't know.
He only averaged 8 points a game.
I don't know what he is yet, because he can shoot 3, he you know what I like the most about him, though, without knowing anything else about him, what stuck out to me the most was what a ball hawk he is. He's always got an eye for knowing exactly where the ball is. Mm-hmm. And he can make some pretty disruptive and some pretty big defensive plays, and seemingly like surprising plays. Like, some activities going on behind him, and he can turn around and just kind of disrupt the play. And so I really like, and all these guys, I really like how aggressive they are as players. I love how aggressive they are defensively.
Yeah.
All three of these kids are really aggressive. So what does that say again for the future of the Spurs and what they're looking at? What passed their eye test? They're all athletic. They're all different. The thing about the Spurs too is that, and this is what I like about the Spurs. You're not going to get a LeBron James in the Spurs, right? Like you're not going to get a known name in the Spurs because they don't need that. And more importantly, they don't want that. It disrupts their entire game plan if they have a player like that. You saw even, with DeMar DeRozan and how he came in, he had to change drastically because he couldn't just be, I'm DeMar DeRozan. And we saw the same issue with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Right.
His game had to change a lot because he couldn't just be LaMarcus Aldridge. So it's not the Spurs in San Antonio are not a destination for, a franchise name like most people think of.
So you don't think that's going to happen?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. All
I
right.
think, the thing is that
Kawhi Leonard's out there.
Tim Duncan, yeah, that's right. Well, maybe they'll talk to him.
No, they won't. Mr. Optimistic over there.
I'm not really saying that they're going to talk to him.
Coffee cup half full. Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah, okay. No, Tim Duncan rose again to star power, and he was obviously seen as a star going number 1 overall, but I don't think Tim Duncan becomes what he becomes if he doesn't come through the ranks of the Spurs.
Right.
But he became a franchise name by being a franchise player. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference with the Spurs. LeBron James is not a franchise player as much as he tries to be. It's to a fault. I mean, I don't think that he can be a franchise player.
You mean at his age?
Just as his pedigree, is what he is athletically and how much people have relied on him. I don't think is possible. Psychologically, I don't think it's there for him.
That's an interesting take.
I don't. I'm surprised to see. I can't think today. Who just tore their ACL?
Klay Thompson?
No, the other guy.
Oh, Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. I'm surprised to see him interacting as well as he is on a team.
Right.
Because forever, right, at Oklahoma City, he was the guy.
Yeah,
in fact, that was kind of the reason why they all kind of had to split off, because they were all the guy. They were all wanting to be the guy, and they weren't really working together well. Yeah. They seemed to have the makings. Remember, that was the thing back then. They were the next big three.
Right.
And then they could never get it together.
Right.
Right? Westbrook, Harden. So...
man, that talent. Good Lord.
Can
to have
you
those
imagine?
three guys
and
together.
They couldn't get it together.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised to see Durant on the Warriors. And, I don't know that we ever really got to see that team because of the injuries and everybody being in and out. I don't know that we ever had a full, complete team and saying, okay, this is how they look for a season. And how would that really pan out? And in fact, we saw, Steph Curry showed up in ways that we hadn't seen Steph Curry in a long time.
Right.
And again, a player that I don't know is meant to be a franchise player. He's a franchise name. You think so?
I think LeBron is easily a franchise player.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I don't.
You don't see that?
I don't.
You're the only person on the planet who doesn't see that.
No, I think he tries to. I mean, well, maybe we're saying it differently. Because I don't.
It's a definition.
Right. I think maybe it's a difference of definition, because I'm not saying not the leader. What I'm saying is like within like a player of players, not the player.
Where they follow him?
Well, no, just like, Tim Duncan is Tim Duncan, but he's not afraid to not score 25 points a game.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sacrifice of himself.
Exactly.
Well, although one year when the Cavaliers won the championship, he led the team in assists.
Right.
But he knew that, hey, I've got to give up.
And he still had to. I mean, those players typically wind up on teams where they have to carry the team.
Right.
So it's not a complete knock against the player, but I'm saying sometimes there's a pedigree within a player that I think elevates them to a leader status they can't help. It's hard to be...
Yeah, Kobe might have been in that category.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Hard to...
I think that there are some
surrender
players...
self to... Yeah.
I think there are some players that are like that.
James Harden.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because we talked earlier.
What a mess that is, too.
And we talked, between the Lakers and the Rockets, it's a race. But I think, when you look at the... we talked about the Rockets, for instance, earlier this year, and the whole idea was the chemistry part of it. They're not going to win they're not going to win a big playoff series.
Right.
They're not, and they don't, and they didn't.
And they didn't.
And I think that's the kind of thing that there are certain players, certain situations where, that you just know that in this situation, in a pressure playoff situation, James Harden's going to score 40 for you, but he's going to surrender 25 because of his poor defense.
Right.
And he can't get past that.
Yeah.
So there's certain players that you just know, unless they just like Michael Jordan did on defense. He became the defensive player of the year because he said, I'm going to get better. I want to get better.
Right.
And went out there and did it. James Harden hasn't shown capable of doing that.
Right.
Certain players like that, I think LeBron will play. He could play defense. He certainly does. But anyway, it's a really good point. That's an interesting thing. But I think the Spurs, because they're such a system team, you better have players who are going to be able to sacrifice self for the greater good.
Exactly. In other words, what I like about the Spurs is that we talk about Spurs players, you talk more about character and personality, it seems like, than, their athletic ability. Yeah, because everybody at the NBA is athletic, right? But then there's different types of athleticism. Like Steph Curry is phenomenal because, he just puts up so many baskets, but they seem to find the basket. These balls seem to find the basket in just the most bizarre ways when he shoots.
Got a great radar for it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. LeBron James is kind of similar. You look at what Harden did this year. However many games, 40 points plus.
Yeah.
So you've got those types of players, but in Spurs systems, you've got these guys that they just go beyond the athleticism. You know what I mean? Like you look at what Manu Ginobili did, it wasn't that you don't talk about his athleticism because it's shrouded in the character that motivated his athleticism.
Right.
You know what I mean? The way that he just threw himself into brick walls to make a shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was just the likes of which nobody had really ever seen before.
Right.
And you look at Tony Parker doing similar things and how he, and the way that they would move the ball. And it's just, when you talk about Spurs players, you don't just talk about their athleticism. It's kind of like, you have to be athletic to play here, but you have to be of a certain character. You have to be of a certain personality to succeed here, I think, is kind of what I'm trying to say. And, that's why I don't know. I like this hodgepodge, this potpourri collection of all these, misfit toys, so to speak.
Well,
I love putting it that way. I mean,
God
It's
bless
the land.
you.
It's
God
the land. Of,
bless you.
But 21 years of success. You know what I'm
know,
saying?
I know, but
it's hard to argue against that.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. They're not going to win a championship with these guys. They're not. There's nothing. And then DeJounte Murray better be
right
Kawhi Leonard-esque on defense
Sure.
for them to have that. Take away 25% or 20% of the opposing offense. Then maybe we'll talk about it at that point. But I will say before we move off this topic that I think of the Spurs draft picks, of the three guys, it's interesting that, of course, Luke is the one that is the highest pick, 19. But I think Keldon Johnson's the one that, in that system and what they need, where they needed a wingman, and he's a wing.
Right.
6'6", athletic. They were stunned he fell down in the 20s. I think he'll make an impact quicker than Samanich.
You think so?
Samanich.
Yeah.
I've got to figure
I think that's
this.
it.
Samanich.
We have a whole summer to figure this out.
Yeah, that's right. I look phonetically, I'm looking at this like Samanich. But I really think that Keldon Johnson's going to be. That's right. Banana, onion. Yeah, but I think Keldon Johnson, is the guy that's probably because he's needed.
Yeah.
They have a need there.
Yeah, I agree.
I look for that.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think he's the star of the three taken for sure. But I don't know if I think he's going to have the immediate impact. I think that they could take their time with him because they're kind of, they need some wings, but they also have some wings in waiting. So I think that
Derek White can move over there. I think Rudy Gay, of course, could play, but somebody's going to have to flesh out some of that.
Right.
That time.
But I don't think that. I think they need a big guy. My biggest issue in this last season is that there wasn't. LaMarcus Aldridge showed up a little bit more so than I thought he would.
Right.
But they need another presence in there that can be aggressive.
You don't like Jakob Poeltl?
Bertans at times. I love Poeltl, but he disappeared.
Yeah.
He disappears. He shows up and disappears. Bertrand shows up and disappears. I want to see somebody who's just not afraid to just.
You should be
go
patient
after.
with Davis Bertans because he went through what you're about to go through.
Oh yeah,
His wife had a baby during the season.
Maybe that's what happened in the playoffs.
That's right. You need to be patient with that guy because that's
right.
That's you, buddy. You're not going to show up some days because you've got a little baby at home.
Right.
That's just the way it goes.
Season 2 might take a while to start up.
Yeah, you're just going to have to get going. So,
all right. Well, we could talk about this too ad nauseum for sure. And I want to. I have as we talk, more questions arise.
Right.
But there's more things I want to get to. So I want to put a pin in this because again, we have all summer, and quite frankly, before we move on, there's just this time of year for me. There's always something in the air that just tells me I need to start watching football movies.
Yes.
Because it's just around the corner, and it is. We're almost to July. And July is just a hop to August. And August is when I really come to life.
It's the most wonderful time
It really is.
Of the year.
Oh, and Katie hates it. Oh, my God. The way I love it.
You kiss the wife in mid-August and say, I'll see you in February.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely that.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it. I can't wait for the game days, waking up at 8 a.m. to listen to.
But you're a college guy.
I love college football.
You love college football, and I do. I like college football too. But I like my Patriots.
Right.
I'm a Patriots fan, and I like the Cowboys.
Do you like the Cowboys?
Oh, I do like the Cowboys.
Okay.
I grew up weeping over Cowboys losses.
Yeah, well,
oh man, I was that
didn't?
kid. I was that kid in Corpus Christi, Texas. Man, just all Roger Staubach.
Yeah,
all Danny White.
Right,
all Tom Landry. I was that kid.
Sure.
Like everybody was.
I think everybody was.
You had to.
Yeah.
It was part of the. If you lived in the state, you had to be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, sure.
If not, you were not really a Texan.
They were America's team.
Yeah. It's kind of cute watching the Houston Texans trying to. It's kind of cute watching them try to take over the market here in town.
Right.
San Antonio and
right.
stuff. But yeah, we're coming up on it.
We are.
We are coming up on it. And training camp. Now we love our Cowboys. They used to have training camp here. They had it here a few years, but I think you and I went, and
we did.
Ryan went to one of those training camps at the Alamo Dome. I think the Cowboys this year have some questions heading into the season, but it's a compelling season, especially in the NFC East. Now the Cowboys have made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years,
right?
And the NFC East this year, the Giants stink. Eli's back, and he's still not the guy. The Eagles have Carson Wentz, but they got rid of Nick Foles. He's elsewhere. So the Eagles, they're a good team, obviously.
Right.
But I think the Cowboys have some real optimism heading into this season.
They do.
It's going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, oh yeah, there's Redskins. Those guys are still. I think the Redskins are still fielding a team, but so they'll be back as well. But the big questions now heading into the season, Andrew, is of course Dak Prescott. He's in line for a payday. We talk about Casper Wentz just got a huge payday from the Eagles. That's going to be kind of the touchstone for Dak Prescott financially. That's what I'm looking for. And there's big discussion on whether he's worth it. And it's an interesting discussion about whether Dak Prescott and the Cowboys still have to pay Ezekiel Elliott. They still Monty Cooper wants the money. He deserves it. Certainly he revitalized their season last year.
Yeah.
So they've got guys. They just paid Zach Martin a boatload of money, the most I think any NFL guard has ever made. Deserves it. Has been an absolutely outstanding player. So you go down the list though, but Dak Prescott's the big question because he's on his last year of his contract. It's time for to get a renewal. Quarterbacks are getting paid.
Yeah.
All over the league. Some of them way too much. But I say to you, Andrew, that I think Dak Prescott needs to be paid. I think this whole discussion about let's trade him or he's not the guy and he's all this kind of stuff. I think he is the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's that good.
Well, his performance on paper certainly says that too.
No, his performance under pressure. I mean, the comebacks that he's made in the fourth quarter, the heady plays he makes. And it's interesting in this Cowboys offense, which is really not predicated on the pass. It hasn't been until they got Monty Cooper and were able to kind of stretch the field a little bit.
Right.
And they've got some good young receivers that are, going to be guys they're going to keep an eye on for this next year. But Dak, he's accurate. He's big. He's not injury prone like the guy that preceded him, this Romo guy. Who he's a guy who is and you know what? He's a winner. He's a winner. Now, the Cowboys, I really feel like last year a lot of people felt like the Cowboys were Super Bowl caliber.
Yeah.
Now they didn't make it, but another tight loss. But I think Dak Prescott, this is one of those things where they've got to get this thing done before the season, and I think they will.
I think they will.
Yeah, and he's going to make some money.
Yeah. Well,
and I think he deserves it.
Well, he does, but that's what I'm saying. On paper, I mean, I don't know if there's an argument or if there is, what it would be, because everything in terms of eye test, in terms of statistics, in terms of you're right, the intangibles, his build. I mean, everything points to this guy is we were talking about a franchise player.
Right.
Right. I mean, he's second to Brady?
Yeah, he's got 32 wins since 2016.
Right.
Brady's got 35.
Right.
That's it.
And lost 16. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
For your tenure in the NFL, which has been short.
Right.
For him.
Right.
He was really impressive, extremely dynamic at Mississippi State. I mean, he was just phenomenal. I'm not surprised to see him translate over into this game. I don't know. I don't know why it's again. I think sometimes we talk about things like this because there's nothing else to talk about. I think this is like summer talk. Just pay the man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to argue about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
the
Cowboys have a salary cap situation.
But he's definitely earned it. He's definitely delivered it. And of anybody else that's deserving in terms of who's the necessary muscle to get you where you're trying to go, is there anybody else on the team?
No, quarterbacks are your 10-year plan, your 12-year plan. A running back, Ezekiel Elliott, he's won the rushing title 2 of the last 3 years. Yeah, he deserves money.
Exactly.
He deserves a little bit more money, but you never know when he's going to get arrested. You never know when he's going to do something numbskull. You don't get that feeling with Dak Prescott.
Right.
He's been at every meeting in the offseason. Even when he didn't have to be there, he's been at the Cowboys camp. All the players talk about it. Zach Martin talked about it last week. Look, this is a guy that's there ready to go. He's planning, hungry. Working with the young guys around him. He's trying to get something to happen to where this team becomes that much better. Because in the NFL in particular, we talk about the NBA, how a play here or there could really decide a ball game. The NFL is really like that.
Yeah.
It's field position, it's time of possession, it's all these kind of things that happen. That it's the little incremental things that win ball games in the NFL. And I got great lessons for that. All those years I covered the NFL, guys like Parcells and Bill Belichick who would talk to you about, here's how you win ball games. It's special teams. It's the decisions that are made in winning time.
Right.
It's delivering the ball at the right place at the right moment, which a great quarterback will do under pressure.
Right.
When the spotlight's on and the clock's winding down. Dak Prescott's done that. He really has.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just look at those kind of things and I think the Cowboys have to pay that quarterback. To your point, you don't pay Ezekiel Elliott quarterback money.
No.
He's one hit away. Running back. The lifespan of a running back is not very long. Mm-hmm. You pay your offensive lineman now. You pay maybe your one good receiver. You pay him something, and you pay your quarterback.
Yeah.
And the bar has been set in that regard. And Dak Prescott's going to make some money because of it.
Sure.
I think.
And he should. He absolutely should. I mean, again, I don't know that I care that much about the conversation. I don't know that there's much debate. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, he's earned his money, pay him.
But it's become an issue. But I think it's a great introduction to the discussion about why he's earned this payday is the fact that he has, and if you're a Cowboys fan, you're encouraged by the fact that he's done the things he needs to do to be better. He's not out there shoving security guards and becoming a distraction to his team and taking headlines away from where. And here's what. And you and I talked about this earlier today. It's interesting what. And almost as a reverse, Sean Elliott told us on this podcast earlier this year that the Spurs players would joke about, hey, if we were playing in New York, we would automatically be 20% better.
Right.
And that's just perception.
Right.
20% better because I'm playing in New York. The headline, the spotlight shines brighter. The headlines are bigger. The attention is there all the time, as opposed to maybe in San Antonio in comparison to L.A. or New York. I would say that if you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, you've got to be 20% better.
Right.
You've got to be, Andrew. You've got to be able to, because they are. You could argue that they're the most popular and recognized team on the planet. They're the most expensive franchise on the planet now, as of last year. Manchester United, you can argue about it. It's right there, but the Dallas Cowboys as a brand,
right,
are as big as it gets.
Yeah,
and you can't. And to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, that's the brand of the brand. I mean,
right.
You're the face of this megalopolis, machine that is the Dallas Cowboys.
Exactly, right.
You've got the star on your helmet, the ball in your hand, on offense every single snap.
Right.
It doesn't get any different than that, or any bigger than that. So I think that's why a Dak Prescott, you've got to have the mentality to play that position if you're a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. You've got the every single Cowboys game every week is outranking every other game, TV ratings. Every single and a lot of people hate them. But you watch them to hate them. You watch the Cowboys to hate them.
Sure.
So, and I think that's the one thing that if you're Dak Prescott, you're the right guy for that kind of a situation.
Right.
To be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, and it makes it a little bit different. He's the captain of the team. He's the face of the franchise, and he doesn't quail from that.
Yeah.
He doesn't back off of that and say, "I can't do this."
Right.
I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
And you got to pay the man.
But he also doesn't come across entitled.
No.
Because that's the other way it could go, right? That entitled, like, well, I've done these things, and I am the quarterback of this franchise, therefore I just deserve.
Right.
And you get a lot of that. There's a lot of ego in this world. There's a lot of ego, especially as the money goes up. And to your point, I mean, this guy's showing up at a lot of places he doesn't have to. They said he's
right.
They almost see him more than they see the staff at the stadium, because he's just constantly there, constantly working, constantly in the film room, constantly with the offensive linemen, throwing to his receivers. I mean, he's just constantly working, and that's exactly what you need if you're trying to build. But that's what successful programs have, and that's what they've had. That is a pedigree for success, and we know that. It's talking about what you were saying. To your point, I agree. I mean, it's the franchise. I was on tour in Japan, and you see Cowboys jackets everywhere.
Oh yeah.
You're in.
No, they're monsters.
I'd be in like a little known place, Chemnitz, Germany, and there's a Cowboys hat. Like,
right.
Are you from? Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, German. They don't even speak English, and
right.
but they know the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So
Cowboys played at Wembley Stadium a couple of years ago. I was there.
Right.
Played the
That's
Jaguars.
Right. That's
it was sold out.
That's right.
And it was all blue. It wasn't Jaguars colors.
To your point, it goes owner and then quarterback. Those. I mean, that's in terms of significance, in terms of awareness. They're right there. They're neck and neck.
Right.
Even. So, in that way, and I was talking with a friend about this earlier, who, by the way, hates the Cowboys.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that says something about the Cowboys.
That's right. That's right. But I was talking not about the Cowboys, but just in general about, some of the things that these players are signing and the money these players are signing for. And the thing is that if the market, if you look at percentage base, right? Because everybody, we peons down here, we look at those things and salary caps and all this kind of stuff, and we scoff at it all, because of course it's an absurd amount of money to anybody. But if you look at a business model and basically how much a business takes in, and then percentage-wise how much it gives out to its employees, I think the numbers are within the plus or minus margin.
Right.
So you're talking about an absurd amount of money, but when you're talking about fair pay for employment and fair pay for, your participation in the overall product, I don't think that it's, in terms of percentages, that outrageous.
Right.
I just think that it's a business, it's an entertainment business that makes so much money that the payout is just that great.
Sure.
So I think we're seeing prices go up, but we're also seeing more money circulated through it. We're seeing more money spent.
Oh,
therefore prices,
Jerry Jones.
Payouts are going up.
And again, if it wasn't for a salary cap, Jerry Jones could go out and spend a gazillion dollars because he's certainly got it. Just as context on this, the 4-year extension signed by Wentz, the Eagles quarterback, just a few weeks ago, worth $128 million for 4 years. 107 of that is guaranteed.
Didn't he get a $66 million signing bonus?
$66 million to sign, and $107 million of his contract total.
Don't you wish that guaranteed. I gave you $66 million to sign on to do this show?
I just want $66,000. How about 6,600
or 66 cents? I haven't paid you anything for this show.
In fact, I think you
bought this beer.
That's right. I even bought this Shiner Cherry Limeade that I'm drinking right now. No. So anyway, pay the man. Pay him. $128 million for Carson Wentz. I say $130 for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
At least he's been healthier than Carson Wentz has been.
Yeah, of course.
But I do like Carson Wentz.
But they did win the Super Bowl.
Decent, great guy. They did win the Super Bowl.
So
Cowboys need to win one. Boy, I tell you, this town, and let me tell you, and I say this because this is the love of the Cowboys in this town. And we just talked about the Spurs. Now, I was sports editor of the Express News here for a couple of years, and our studies and our examinations showed that the Cowboys on a Sunday against the Spurs on a Sunday, Cowboys win that battle.
Yeah.
Cowboys win that battle in San Antonio, Texas. Now, you love your Spurs. Now, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, maybe that's different. I don't know. Don't know. Haven't been in that situation. You wouldn't be, obviously, in June. But a big Spurs game, Spurs-Lakers on a Sunday, Cowboys and Redskins on a Sunday, Cowboys get the rating.
Yeah. Of course.
Cowboys are going to get the rating. I think we love our Cowboys here. The Cowboys, if they do make a Super Bowl again, eventually, maybe, the lid will come off of this community.
Of course. But here's the thing, though, too, and you kind of hinted at it a second ago, is that with that, in November, this is why, and I said this, like 12 episodes ago, in November, don't talk to me about basketball. I mean, I'll pay attention to it, and certainly I have to more now, but don't talk to me about basketball. I just really don't care.
Right.
Because that's a sacred time designated for football. You look at the
sacred
you
time.
Look at it, just is, especially it's in your blood when you're a Texan. And I'll be interested to see how my kid grows up because,
that kid doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't have a choice.
Well,
because I grew up watching my dad, obsess over football. It's just a thing. And it's just kind of this hand-me-down thing. But I don't know. I think that's more of a nature than a nurture.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, that kid's going to come out. I could already tell you what he's going to be.
But, it's just there's something in the air, right? When it just gets a little crisp, right? The leaves just start to fall. That's football season.
You're getting a little misty-eyed.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah,
I can't. This is the time of year I start to get antsy.
Yeah.
And I kind of get. Katie gets tired of it because then I start really perusing college football forums and start.
Yeah.
This is going to happen. And then they're in the weight room and they're talking about
this. You're the guy
this.
who's going to be. You'll change the kid's diaper at 2 a.m. and then you'll walk around and say, "Now Kellen Mond is really going to be." Great at quarterback for the Aggies this year.
That's right.
I really like the way that Jimbo Fisher called that game. You're gonna be that dad. You're gonna be that dad. Hey, let's watch the replay of that LSU.
Oh, we are gonna watch.
Yeah.
So, in fact, that's what I start doing about now. I start watching replays of last season, getting ready for this season. Just seeing what we might look like.
So to move on now, as we wrap this up, the beer that you want to drink during football season. So when you have to have your coffee beer.
Yeah, okay.
Coffee beer.
Coffee beer.
So we talked about this because, and somebody brought this up to me a couple of weeks ago, there's coffee beers out there. Beers that are made from coffee or vice versa.
Right.
So I don't know, now I've been to Hawaii, so I was very familiar with the Kona Brewery.
Right.
And the fact that they make this, that porter pipeline, like the surfing pipeline porter.
Right.
And that's obviously very popular, but made with Kona beans, coffee beans.
Right.
Stuff like that. So I look at those kind of things and I think that Samuel Adams has that great beer with the Sumatra coffee.
Right.
So I'm going to settle because I want to go to Jamaica. And I haven't had this yet, but I was reading about it. The Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee beans, they use those brewed only in the spring.
Okay.
So this will be something I look forward to maybe for next year. Java Coffee Stout.
Interesting.
Java Coffee Stout. JAHVA Coffee Stout made with Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee beans. All right, so that's my beer of the week.
That's your beer of the week.
That's my beer of the week.
Okay.
Now, it's not really a football beer because it's a spring beer. So, maybe then, but the Kona coffee beers, Kona Brewery, the Pipeline Porter, 100% Kona coffee grown on the Big Island of Hawaii is available September through March.
Oh, okay.
So that is your football beer.
Yeah.
So I'll throw that out there. But
we'll have to definitely get into some
I do
of
want
that.
to try that Java Coffee Stout.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to reach out to them and say, hey, we need to shoot on location.
We need to go to Jamaica or Hawaii.
Either
one, whichever one says yes.
Right. We'd like to talk about you more on the show, but we're going to need to sample the goods, and they're going to have to be fresh.
Right.
We can't deal with imported.
No, we need to be there.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair for the listeners to give them an adequate, accurate idea.
It's really all about the listeners in that situation.
Of course.
Now, do you have a beer? Did you have a coffee beer that you're...
I don't. It's funny because you brought this up before we came on, and I was thinking, I love porters and I love stouts, and I get them all the time, and it's true, I do. But
all the traveling you've done around the country,
but I don't pay attention to it because you know what happens. It's inevitable. I'll be out somewhere and somebody's like, "Hey, let's go to a random bar," and we pop up in this bar, and they may be a microbrewery or they carry microbrew beer. And they'll have a stout or a porter, and I'll be like, "That's great, give me that," and I'll try it, and it's good or it's not good, and I forget about it because when you see as many cities as I have seen in a week, you just unless you're keeping a diary, which most of the time I'm being drug out of bed or get a text, "Hey, come out." Oh, okay, sure. It's last minute. I'm not really keeping a diary, although I might now. That might be kind of fun.
Right.
But back then when I was traveling so much, I just was, it was just whatever was there, I'd have it. And I had some great stuff, but I really can't think of.
I've got one for you.
Okay, what is
I've got one for you. And we've always talked about the East Coast and about Yuengling, Pittsburgh area and Yuengling beer and how much I love Yuengling beer, black and tan ale. That's my beer.
Right.
That's my go-to. Whenever I get, illegally brought into me from across state lines. East Coast has Cigar City's Cubano Espresso Brown Ale.
I just saw that.
So that's you, man.
That is definitely
That
me.
is you. Cubano Espresso Brown Ale brewed with a heaping amount of Cubano-style espresso beans, vanilla, and how do you pronounce this? CACAO. It's not cocoa. It's
cacao.
Cacao nibs.
Cacao.
What's a nib?
I think that's cocoa. I think it's cacao.
What is a nib?
I think it's like a little bean. I think it's
brewed with that. So that's the one that I will choose for you since you didn't.
That sounds really good.
Since you didn't come with a beer coffee suggestion here.
I can name off some brands like Breckenridge has a good one. Left-handed brewery, they have a good one. Founders has a good one. So I know the brands, but I don't know their specific names and titles and such, and I don't really care to look them up. But we should we should set up a tasting on this show. We should go out and get like 6 different coffee beers and then set them out. Maybe that'll be a brew topic that we cover,
right?
And we sample through. Maybe we'll do like a blind tasting or something and see what we come up with.
I still like the Jamaica/Hawaii idea.
Right. I see what you're pushing for.
An and or.
Yeah.
One or the other. Yeah, and I like the and part of that. Jamaica and Hawaii.
Right. Well, we just we've been going out to these places now. We're starting to explore our different surroundings.
And like we said, going to go to Minute Maid Park.
Right.
They've got some good beer out there.
That's right. And all of this is for you guys.
It's really all about the listeners.
We might just have to end up in Jamaica and Hawaii.
Just saying. so that you all, so we can experience it for you.
That's right. That's right.
Dear listener. Speaking of experiencing this thing, my wife, my lovely bride, says that we need to shut up.
Oh, are we being
she
shut
wants
down?
dinner. She wants dinner.
I think it's my bride that wants dinner.
My lovely bride. Our lovely bride say, that is our cue to say, look, we've talked enough sports. We've talked, but now we're talking coffee. But hey, we got a lot of great things happening next week. Gary DeLon will be on with us.
Hopefully, God, we keep saying.
If as long as there's not a
Poor guy
tornado,
keeps getting bumped.
tornado coming down our block, we're good to go. But yeah, we got kind of hammered earlier.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With some bad weather, so
For
we're glad to be here and glad to be talking because we almost got whacked by a lightning.
Literally.
That was just like, oh look, let's go outside, stand outside. Ooh, look,
That's right.
bam.
That's
So,
right.
Anyway, thanks for joining us.
We are from Texas, so
Exactly.
that is prone to happen. But anyway, yes, guys, tell you what, that is what's brewing here, and this has been episode 20. I can't believe we made it to 20
Manu
episodes.
Ginobili
Oh my
one.
gosh, that's right, Manu Ginobili episode. All right, so this will wrap it up. I'm gonna plug our social media because it's been a while. So we are on Facebook and Instagram at What's Brewing Sports, as well as Twitter, What's Brewing SP. And you can find us anywhere podcasts are played. Listen to us, check us out, rate us, please, and reach out to us. We love hearing from you guys. We love taking your questions, and we love talking about those things then on the air. So it's been great. We're having fun. And until next time, take it easy.